Okay, before I get into the first section of this, we need to run a little trial, input-output trial. So y equals 3x, okay? Means 3 times x. So these are the x inputs, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So then I write 3 times x, because that's what y equals. And then you just replace the x. -3 is the first one, so that's -9. Then -2, it's -6. -1, 3 times -1 is -3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? So we start low and we just go up. So that's what makes this a line. Okay? Now obviously to graph a line, that's a waste of time when we have MB. Okay? Now, but let's look at this function. Now it's y equals 3 times x to the power of 2. Okay? So, y equals 3 times x to the second power. 3 times x to the second power. Okay. Now, I'm putting -3 in for x. So you do your exponent first. So -3 to the second, that means -3 times -3 is 9, okay? And then you take the 9 times the 3, okay? So again, I take -3, two -3's and multiply them. And then I times by 3. I got 27. Okay, now I put -2 to the second, so that's like taking -2 times itself, and then multiply that by 3, okay, that's 12. Now I would take -1 times itself, in that order, and then I would times by 3. I would get 3. -1 times itself is 1, times 3 is 3. Now yes, I'll take 0 times itself. 0 times 0 is 0, but then multiply by 3 is still 0. Okay, now I'm going to put 1 in for x. 1 times itself, 1 times 1 is 1, times 3 is 3. So now something different's going to happen. It's all because of that second power. Okay, now 3 times, so now I put in 2 for x. And I would take 2 times itself, that's what the second power means, and multiply by 3, and I'd get 12. Okay, then 3. I would take 3 times itself, and then multiply that result by another 3, so it'd be 27. Now what do you notice happens here? Well, you go down, but then you go up again, okay? You go down, get low, and then come back up. And that's a parabola, okay? It's the other's way around than what we're used to seeing, but those exist as well, okay? Now rip this paper off, okay? And this is going to kind of be your guideline if you're in class, okay? If you're not in class, I have this written down on the document. Now you're graphing, these are called quadratic functions. Quadratic. And quadratic functions, we know it is at 1 because it has x to the second. Okay, all those x to the second equations you were solving for x, those have a name, quadratic equations. Now, I know this whenever I have x to the second power. Okay, so because of x to the second, and also this crap up here, don't worry about. Now those will make a U, they will make a parabola. You can make the U right side up, upside down, but that's what we have, okay? Now, we do not do the boxes. That's what we have to do to solve for the x. Our job is to graph that correctly. So, first thing you're going to do, you're going to label ABC, but you're not going to do the GCFT. That's not what you're doing. You're not trying to find what x equals because we're never really given a number to replace y with. Now you need 3 points to graph this accurately. Okay, so 3 points. Don't make a table, just make 3 coordinate x, y points. This middle is the most important, that is known as your vertex. Okay, It's the middle of the U, and there'll be 2 side points. Okay, there's a formula that finds it in the middle as long as it's ABC form, which it is, ax squared, bx, and c. Okay, it is opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So write that down. Opposite of b divided by 2 times a. Now I'm not going to put any x's down there, I'm just using the coefficients. So the opposite of plus 6 would be positive 6 would be negative 6. So I cross that out and just put the negative 6. That value makes opposite. Now the A is replaced with 3. Now if you're wondering where's that 2 coming from, it's part of the formula. You're going to write that down and the 2 is always going to be there. Okay, it's the opposite of B and then the A where you will put, those are like your variables. But 2 is not a variable, it stays there. Then I need to find what 2 times 3 is, which is 6. Then I take negative 6 divided by 6, and that's negative 1. So your middle x is negative 1. Now to find your other x's, you add 1 and subtract 1 from the vertex. So I'll take my middle x, negative 1. First I'll add 1, and I came up with a 0. Now I go back to that negative 1 and I subtract 1, okay? And I got negative 2. And you could do that as many points as you want. You need an odd number of points because this is your vertex. I mean, you could make another one here, and then add 1 here, subtract 1 here, okay? And it could go on, but 3 is good enough for what we're doing today. Now to find your y's, you replace the x with the given values, okay? So I usually start on the low end, okay? That's just me. So I parenthesize my x's, and I'm going to use a calculator to figure out the y. So I'm going to put negative 2 in for x here and here at the same time. So I go 3, parentheses, and negative 2 will go replace the x, close it. Now that needs a second power, so to get a second power you can go caret 2, or you could just click that key next to the 7. That'll always do a second power. It only works with a second power, but this key next to the 7. Then plus 6, parentheses, and I will be putting negative 2 again for that. And then after that I will minus 3. I will click equals. And if I put negative 2, gave me an output of negative 3. Now don't clear your calculator. Keep it. This will go a lot quicker if you keep it. You're going to use the up key on your compass, okay? And now instead of negative 2 in there, you want negative 1. So you want the negative still, so you just go over the 2 and put 1s. 1, and then use the side arrow. 1. And then that's it, so negative 6. Now I will know I did this right if when I put 0 in, if I'm back at negative 3. So I don't want the negative anymore, so I go over the negative and click DEL, and then 0. Go over the negative, click DEL, and replace your 1 with 0. And then we get negative 3. Okay, so I did this right. Now I have to graph the coordinates, and it will make our U. So x, we have to get to negative 2. So negative 1, negative 2. For y, we have to get to negative 6. So 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Then I graph it, 0, negative 3. Okay, x is 0. When x is negative 1, y is negative 6. So I go to negative 1 and then negative 6. And then if x is negative 2, y is negative 3. And that makes our parabola, okay? So you just need really to sketch it, you need the vertex and then 2 side points. Now you also have to find this thing called the range. We talked about domain and range earlier this year. Domain's not important. The range represents every possible value for the y, okay? And here's how you discover that. Label your vertex point the middle. Just put negative 1, negative 6. And you are concerned with the y, so you put the value negative 6 across from your y. Now from that point you go up, So you use the greater than symbol, okay, and an equals to sign. That means the y can be -6 or anything greater, nothing below. That's your range of outputs for y. Okay, next problem. Y equals -2x to the second power plus 12x minus 10. Okay, so again, I know this is going to make a u because of the x to the second power. Okay, so I label A, B, C today because it'll be AX second, BX, and C. And you need 3 coordinates, okay? You need 3 points to graph a quadratic equation effectively. But it's not whatever you want. The middle is the vertex, and you can't just pick whatever you want for x like you can on a line. Okay, remember how that's found. Opposite of B divided by 2 times A. So the opposite of positive 12 is negative 12. So in the numerator we have a negative 12. Then in the denominator 2 times A. Well, A is just negative 2. You don't make your A opposite. Remember we said that 2 is always going to be there, that front 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Then you divide negative 12 by negative 4 and it's 3. Okay? So that is your middle x now. Now you take 3 and plus 1, which is 4. And you go back to your 3, and I take 3 minus 1, that's 2. Then I will replace my x's with those given values. So we have, I'll start with 2, so you have negative 2. And I'm going to put 2 in here and here. 2 to the second, so you click the key next to the 7, the plus 12, and then I put the same number in, the 2, then minus 10. So a 2 goes here and here to find what y is. And I got 6. Now I click up on my compass. Now I want to put 3 and 3. So I go 3, 3, and that's it. And that gives me 8. Now I will know I did this right if I'm back to 6, okay? So I will put 4 in for x here and here. So instead of 3, now I want 4. Okay, so I'm back at 6. So again, those should be equal. Okay, now we got to get the 4 on x, not hard to do. And then 8 on y, so let's check this before I label it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll work. Okay, 1's is good. Okay, then I'll go 4, 6, 4, 6, 3, 8, 3, 8, and then 2, 6, 2, and then 6. Okay, so now it's upside down, and that's to be expected because if the A is positive, it's going to be a U. If the A is negative, it's going to be a rainbow. Okay. All right, now your range, you write the variable y down and you label your vertex 3, 8. Okay, just put 3, 8. You are focused on the 8 because that's your y value. Now from there it goes down. So instead of a greater than, we will use a less than or equal. That means y could be 8 or anything less than 8, but 8's the maximum value. Here, -6 is the minimum value. Okay, it'll be a minimum if your A is positive. It will be a maximum if the A is negative. Okay, y equals x to the second power plus 6x minus 3. Okay, so x to the second there, it will make a u. Now, whether it's upside down or right side up, the outputs will take me to that, okay? You got to trust the process. Okay, so A is 1, and then B, and then C. Then I set up my 3 coordinates. Because remember, we're not solving for x here like we were in the last unit, okay? We're graphing the function. Because we don't have a 0, we're not going to have a 0, okay? We have to find what y would be if x is a certain amount of points. So vertex in the middle, that's your vertex. Okay, vertex is the middle x. It is found with the formula by taking the opposite of the b coefficient and dividing it by 2 times the a coefficient. So the opposite of positive 6 would be negative 6, and then the a value is 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. You need to find that product down there, then you take negative 6 divided by 2. Gives me negative 3. So there's your middle. Now you take negative 3 and plus 1 to get negative 2. And then you take negative 3 and minus 1 to get negative 4. Now you're ready to find your y outputs. First we will be putting negative 4 in for the x's. So I have 1, negative 4. Second power can be found next to the 7, or you can go caret 2, but I think the second power looks pretty better. Plus 6, and then negative 4 again, and then minus 3. So I got negative 11. If you put negative 4 in for your x values, you get an output of negative 11. Now I want negative 3 here and here, so I want to keep the negative, don't delete that. And then I'm at negative 12. Now hopefully this is back to negative 11. If I am, it's right. And it is. Okay? Alright, so x, we got to get to negative 4. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Now on the y's, you're going negative, so you're going down, but you can't get to negative 12 by 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, doesn't work, so I'm going by 2's. And then you graph. So negative 2, negative 11. Negative 3, negative 12. And then negative 4, negative 11. Okay, exactly like we suspected, it's a U. Again, it opens upward if the A is positive. Okay, so you need to label your vertex now. Negative 3, negative 12. X, Y. Then you take your Y value of negative 12. That's the important one. And from there I'm going up. So I put greater than or equal to. If you're going up, it eats a variable. So negative 12 is your minimum, and it just gets higher from there. Okay, next one. X seconds there, it's a U. So I'll do ABC first, as long as you have a number x squared, x, and constant. Okay. But again, you're not making boxes because you're not solving for x. So this is the vertex. What's the formula that finds that vertex? Opposite of b divided by 2 times a. Okay, so the opposite of negative 18 is positive 18, and then the a value is 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, and I take 18 divided by 6, and I get 3. So 3 is the vertex. So we take 3 plus 1 to get 4. And then you take your 3 and minus 1, which would be 2. Now, parenthesize your x's and find your outputs. So you have 3. First we're going to put 2 in, okay? 2 and 2. You could do 4 first. It doesn't really matter. I just like to start low. Hit the second key, and then minus 18, then 2 again. Don't go to 3. You go 2 and 2, then minus 12. I got negative 36. That's right. Or no, down here. Negative 36 when you did 2. Then 3. Negative 39. Then I'm going to do 4. Okay, 4. You're putting the 4 in for the x. Now you're back at negative 36. So x is easy. You can just go 1, 2, 3, 4. But here's a problem. There's no way I can go to negative 39. Okay, so I can't even do that by 2's, so go 5's. Negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, negative 20, negative 25, negative 30, negative 35, negative 40. Okay, so 4, negative 36. Okay. 3, negative 39. That's just closer to negative 40 than 2, negative 36. Okay, parabola, you just open it up. Now you label the vertex, please. That's the middle one, 3, negative 39. So you take your y value, negative 39, and from there you're going up. So you use a greater than or equal to sign. Okay. Now I want to review something that we did. I don't think this is on the assignment. Now your x isn't to the second, so it's not a parabola, it's a line. So line, you're looking for MB. You have it, so slope, y-intercept. I don't want you to forget how to do that. Slope's 3 over 1 plus 2 is the y-intercept. So go to 2 on the y, then you go up 3, forward 1. And then just make the line as straight as you can. I don't need you to get a bunch of rulers here. Okay. Now, again, the x is not to the second, it's to the first. That's a line, but we have to get the y by itself. So it's multiplied by positive 5, so you check that. You want that positive. Then you minus 2x. Then you make a 0x and minus 2x from there. So you have 5 times y. 0 minus 2 is negative 2, and then plus 20. Now you need to divide by 5. If you get a decimal, you leave it as a fraction. Negative 2 divided by 5 is a decimal, so we leave that negative 2/5 x. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now you have your m and your b. So now you can do slope, y-intercept. So the slope, negative 2/5, the y-intercept, plus 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then down 2, forward 5. Can't do it again, so I'll just go off these points here. Okay, but I don't think that's on the assignment. I think on the assignment it's all x second. So you need to make the 3 coordinates and apply your scenarios.